now, right wing side, carries into the high slot, took the shot, scores! Oh, and it beats Stein through a lot of traffic, and it's 4-1 Minnesota State with 16:52 to go.
From BLC Studios in Mankato, Minnesota, this is the Maverick Hockey Live Podcast, presented by Dunkin. With your host, Shane Frederick.
This is the Maverick Hockey Live Podcast, presented by Dunkin. My name is Shane Frederick. I'm your host, and joining me this week is Minnesota State Freshman Forward Christian Fitzgerald. Hi, Christian. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. Thanks to yourself.
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us this week. Good to have you on. Good to have one of the young faces on. We had, you might be the first freshman this year. I know we had Keenan Rancier on earlier, not technically a freshman, but he only played one game last year. So good to have the youngsters on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Christian's off to a good start for the Mavericks in his career. He's got 8 goals, 8 assists for 16 points, played in 27 games. He's 6th on the team in scoring, and helping this team out on an 8-game winning streak after an impressive sweep at Ferris State this past weekend, winning 4-1 and 5-1. Christian, just let me ask you about that the weekend sweep. Obviously, they came to Mankato and swept you guys in December. I'm sure you probably felt like 6 points was really important to get, just based on what had happened against that same team, a month and a half earlier.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we had a bit of a chip on our shoulder going into Ferris this past weekend, and obviously we knew what they did to us in our home barn, and I guess wanted to repay the favor in theirs. So it was a huge 6 points for us, and I think we've been trending in the right direction as of lately.
Those games are tight, and early on in both of them, in a tough building to play in, a small rink, kind of a bandbox. But you guys had really strong second periods in both games. What do you think the difference was in kind of flipping that switch in the middle frame?
Yeah, I think we've just been defending super hard. We haven't really been giving up too many grade A opportunities, and with that, I think we've been just taking advantage of, I guess, how few opportunities we've been giving up, and then starting to capitalize some more on the offensive side. I know you've kind of moved around the lineup a little bit this year, different lines, different spots. I think you were moved back to center. Is center your natural position? Is that kind of the future for you? Or I know you played some wing on the top line, and Simon Tassi got healthy. He was ended up being a winger on a top line, and you were moved down, but you were moved to a center spot, which is obviously an important position. Is that kind of where you're looking at your game, or just wherever you can help the team? Yeah, I think right now it's just the biggest thing is being flexible. Wherever the coach kind of needs me to go, that's where I'm going to go and try and put my best foot forward each weekend. So I think right now the biggest thing is just kind of not really having any expectations kind of going into each week, and just kind of see where the lines are shaping up, and then try and do my best and help the team win.
What's the transition been like for you as a first-year player, first-year college player, first-year Minnesota State player? Obviously being able to put up some points and do some good things out there, and but never an easy transition for a player. What has it been like, going back to when you first arrived in Mankato?
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I think the summer here was kind of difficult for me. I had shoulder surgery that ended my season a little short last year, which was frustrating way to end the junior career, and then just trying to work my hardest, I guess, to get back to 100% healthy for when the season came around this year. So I think just trying to focus on making sure I was 100% healthy before anything else, and then kind of coming in with no expectations and just trying to take it day by day.
When did you first get recruited by Minnesota State? When did that start? And I just want to ask you a little bit about your junior career after that. But when did the process start with the Mavericks?
That was back in 2020. After our playoffs actually got shut down due to COVID.
Right.
Started talking with Darren Blue actually, and built a pretty strong relationship with him, and then things kind of grew through that, and I think I ended up committing in November of 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where were you playing in 1920?
I was in Surrey in the BCHL.
Okay. And then you played one more season there.
Yeah, one more season in Surrey, and then decided to go to Tri-City in the USHL for my last year.
Well, what's interesting and where it looks like you you're having some comfort on the ice in the college game. Is going back to those last two junior seasons anyway, where because of COVID, you only played 19 games in 2021, right? It looked like they put you guys in pods, different pods. You were your pod MVP.
I guess so.
I'm just reading, got that off your bio. And then the following year you played in 29 games, and that must have been because of the shoulder injury that cut things short. So, not a ton of games compared to a lot of players who, play a couple years of junior hockey coming into the college game. Do you think that made a difference from you in a transition wise, or what do you rely on to kind of get through that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was difficult not playing as many junior games, I guess, as I wanted to. Having all three of my seasons cut short in junior hockey, but I felt confident in where my game was at, that I was ready to kind of make that jump to the college level.
What were your, when you started first talking to Coach Blue and getting into the recruiting process, what did you know about Minnesota State? What was your impression of, when they started calling you? Did you know much about them at the time? Had you paid much attention to where you might want to play college hockey, or did you start researching things, or how did that work out?
Yeah, I saw their how successful their program had been, and I guess kind of on the rise at the time when I was talking to them. From the way that it looked like they were kind of turned into being a really top-notch program, and I found a lot of excitement in that, and it was definitely something I want to be a part of. And
when I hear a lot about what it's like, for players who get recruited, and then you play a couple, you might play 1 year in junior hockey, or they might ask you to play another year. You kind of have a timeline set up for when you'll come here, so that you can be ready to be successful right off the bat, which you have been. What has that been like? What was that like through that process, getting to know the coaches, Coach Knott? I assume once Bluey left, it was Coach Kirkland a little bit. What was that process like? Because I hear a lot about kind of the strong relationship that they try to keep with their committed players and their signed players long before you end up, starting your college career.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the recruitment process is a little different for me, having been through all of COVID. I didn't get to go down on any visits, and
right.
So all of the relationship building was done through Zoom. But I was super comfortable with the relationship I'd built with Bluey, and that progressed with Coach Hastings and Nodder, and I was super happy with the decision I made.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that part too, where you're playing in a pod. Everything's pretty much left to those small circles of people. So yeah, of course, there's no coaches coming in to watch you play. They're watching film. They're breaking down tape of you instead of watching you in person. So just as you're adjusting your life to Zoom, they're adjusting the way they recruit to Zoom, I suppose, too, and try to find a way to. That might be a good question to ask a coach someday about what the difference is between watching a guy on tape and watching a guy, sitting in the stands.
Right.
Yeah, and then that puts more onus on you from a schedule standpoint too, right? Everybody's trying to arrange times to talk. And
yeah, no, it was good though. Once I made my decision, I was in contact with Bluey. I think it was either Bluey or Nodder. It was like once a week. I was on the phone with them, and obviously it was a little difficult because we weren't playing games at the time. So just trying to make the most out of the practices and take advantage of that extended off season, I guess. And
right. Yeah. What did you do in that extended time? Was that just a lot of skating on your own, or skating with a few people, or just working out, or?
Yeah, we were in Surrey. We were still running skates. We were skating like twice a day. So we were on the ice all the time. And I felt like I took advantage of that period of time where you're not playing games, but it really allows you to hone in on the skills that you really need to improve on. And I think translated to once we did start playing games, I really felt I took big steps, and I guess areas where I found I was weak the year prior.
Seems like you have to put quite a commitment to that, to kind of make that, to figure that out a little bit and say this, I got to be able to take advantage of whatever ice you have, however you're going to play, because everybody wants to play games, right?
Yeah, it was difficult. Obviously, there was so much unknown with that entire year, and I guess just trying to take advantage of every day.
Yeah. So when they put you in a pod, are you playing the same teams? Is it just a handful of teams, 3-4 teams that are all playing each other over and over, or what? How did that work?
Yeah, it was just us, Surrey, Coquitlam, and Powell River. So we played each team 10 times, and that was the pod season. And we're playing, felt like every other day.
I assume you probably get a little tired of playing each other. Probably try to. Might be easy for hard feelings to carry over from game to game a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. It was pretty funny. I think as the pod went along, it was pretty competitive. We played them so many times, and yeah, no, it was good though. I was just happy to get some games in.
Did you get to know, are any of those players playing here or that you know of playing college hockey? Kind of close to some of those players.
Yeah, obviously got pretty close with my team in Surrey throughout that year because weren't really able to hang out with too many other people. So we were pretty grateful for the time we had at the rink each day. And I felt like connections and relationships grew a ton through that.
It's a good league. It's a competitive league, but you made the jump or made the move anyway to the USHL to play for Tri-City. What was that like, or what did you feel like the difference was, or could you tell? I mean, it's probably a little difficult to tell. I mean, you'd played 2 years earlier in Surrey too, but to go from that pod to a fuller schedule, at least until you got hurt. But what was that like? What did you notice any big difference between those leagues or style of play, or kind of what was to come?
Yeah, I felt like the USHL was a little more comparable to to college hockey. I felt like going to the USHL for a year would really help me round out my game, and I think it did just that. And I had a great experience last year in Tri-City.
What would you describe about your game? What are your strengths? What do you kind of rely on? What should people notice when they're looking at number 3 out there on the ice?
I think probably the biggest 2 things is my skating and my hockey IQ.
Yeah,
I'd say that's probably the 2 things that stand out the most. And then I think I got a pretty good shot, and try and utilize that more as the season progresses here.
It's kind of nice to see. I mean, freshmen come in sometimes, and you wonder how willing they are to shoot the puck, and how tentative they are, or how they, or if guys come in and maybe a pass first. I know it's interesting. I mean, Coach Hastings talked about that. Your teammate David Cilia, not afraid to shoot the puck. A guy who's got 20 goals already this season, and it's always odd to when your coach has to point that out. They want people to shoot the puck. I think Coach Hastings has an appreciation for guys who can shoot the puck and get shots on goal, create chances, create opportunities, create scrambles, whatever it might be, or just go bar down, whatever works, right? Has that always been the case with you? Have you always been a guy who's looking to shoot the puck?
I try to be. I think at times I'm a little too generous with how much I want to give the puck away. And I think coming in here, I was a little nervous. I didn't want to take any bad shots, so I wanted to always give the puck to some of the older guys. And I think just kind of once I got settled in and took more shots, I started gaining confidence, I guess, in my shooting ability. And I felt like it was something I'd already had, just like had to... I guess reopen that door.
Maybe that's the reason that you're not on Cilia's line anymore. You're both going to shoot the puck too much, right? Well, I mean, and it's just good to see and the run that you guys have been on, especially the number of goals you guys have been scoring on the road during this streak. I mean, I know the Lake Superior State series was good to get those home wins after a 4-game losing streak at home. But still felt like you guys could have scored more. But to put up 9 goals last weekend, you put up 10 goals at Arizona State. You had was it 8 goals, I think, at Northern Michigan, or 9. You guys are suddenly scoring on the road. Is there anything that you can pinpoint as to why you guys have had this success suddenly on the road, where you're putting up big numbers compared to at home?
I think it's all just kind of coming through practice. I think guys are starting to gain more confidence, and as you've probably seen, we're having a lot more scoring depth throughout the lineup. Yeah. It's not really the same couple guys scoring every weekend, so I think that's been huge for us, is having different guys step up and put some pucks in the back of the net.
Yeah, I think 12 players had points on Saturday night at Ferris, and I think 14 players had points over the weekend, and other 3 goals for Mr. Cilia, but really just the goal scoring was really spread out, and I know people like to see that, coaches like to see that, because you don't want to get too one-line dependent as much as you want your top line to really carry a team, right? If you get too one-line dependent, then you worry about what would happen if they get shut down on a night.
Yeah, no, the scoring depth's definitely been huge for us lately since the break.
What, I want to ask you, you kind of knew the reputation of Minnesota State coming in, and obviously back-to-back Frozen Fours. Team turns over a lot from last season. So it's not that you didn't experience kind of the losing streaks or the struggles or the little bit of a valley that this team went through, but what was that like as far as trying to get that back on track and going through as a freshman, knowing that it wasn't like you guys were playing poorly in those games. Some of it was just a lack of scoring or some untimely mistakes or good plays by your opponent, but that's something that this program hadn't experienced in a long time. And as a first year player in the program, you certainly don't want to be part of any slippage, but every team's going to go through that. What was that like for you as a freshman to try to help a program kind of get back on track?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's frustrating when you're losing games, and especially with how close the games were, goal or two here or there, and all of a sudden we're winning the games 3-2 instead of losing them 2-1. So I think we always had it in us as far as how we've been doing lately. But I think all of that, like, we go to work every day in practice, and I think we gain a lot of confidence through competing against each other each and every day. And as frustrating as it was, I don't think anybody doubted our abilities.
What do you feel like there's a point where things started to really click for you? I mean, you were the CCHA Rookie of the Month for December. You had 3 goals at the sweep at Bowling Green, which is part of an 8-game road winning streak. You have those 2 streaks going on, 8-game overall and an 8-game road streak. You try to keep them both going this weekend with a home and home against St. Thomas. But did you feel like things kind of clicked around December as you kind of got your feet wet, or you still feel like you're trying to figure things out?
Yeah, for sure. I think that Bowling Green weekend was really big for me. I felt being given opportunities to play on the power play, I really felt like I had to take advantage of that. And at times I felt like I was overhandling the puck and I was passing up good shooting opportunities. And I really felt like that weekend, after I got that one power play goal, it really, I guess, relieved some pressure from me that I had built up within myself. But no, I felt like that was a really big weekend for myself, and tried to continue, I guess, throughout the rest of the season. Probably
felt like you guys, needed a little shot in the arm for how you played on the road, and when points are just so hard to come by in the league, and I know you guys thought you guys got things back on track, and then you slip back against Bemidji the following week, and then obviously a really good start to 2023, undefeated in January. So was there a time when you're kind of feeling out like different rinks and different styles of play and different opponents, and you're realizing some of the rivalries and things like that go all into it, because you kind of get you kind of have to experience all of it at once. I mean, from playing those top Minnesota non-conference teams in the beginning of the year to getting into conference play and realizing that those are always a grind, because you guys got a target on your back when you're playing them, and they're hard rinks to play in and all that. What's all that been like to just kind of take all in over the course of a couple months?
Yeah, honestly, I really just think it's been super exciting. It's been a dream of mine since I was little to play college hockey, and for that to be a reality, it's just been super exciting. And I think I've just been trying to take advantage of every day and just been enjoying what I'm doing. As far as week to week goes and teams we're playing, I think nothing really changes based on who we're playing Friday, Saturday. each week we go in Monday ready to work and I guess prepare a little differently based on who we're playing that weekend. But as far as that, nothing much changes.
What's that been like to learn about, how this team practices and kind of the expectations going in? People talk a lot about culture all the time, and I think there's, whether you call it culture or just the way things are, the way teams practice, the way Coach Hastings and his staff run practices. You mentioned before we started recording that, you can have a hard couple days here and there. Tuesdays and Wednesdays can be tough. In the past, I've had players talk about how, sometimes practice is as hard or as intense as a game in some cases. Was that something you were prepared for, or is that something that you learned as you went? And, what was that like to kind of figure that part of it out?
Yeah, I mean, I had an idea of what the practices and stuff would be like, but obviously it's a little different when you're actually in the middle of it. But I feel like the culture around our team and just how hard the practices are, I feel like they really bring us closer together.
Yeah, was it eye-opening right away? I mean, or did you have hard practices in the junior days too, or what's the biggest difference in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, practices in junior are also pretty hard, but I don't know if anything really compares to how hard some of the Tuesday, Wednesday practices are here, especially finishing with the skates at the end of some of the practices when you feel like you've already, I guess, gone through so much during the skate.
Played a full game almost.
Yeah. But at times I feel like the practices are almost harder than the games.
I suppose part of it too with junior, like with the number of games that traditionally you play, depending on COVID or injuries, you're there's games midweek, things like that. You're practicing between games where there's this more regimented schedule in college hockey of playing Friday, Saturday games and having a regimen of the week, and what you're going to do, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like when you're skating in juniors, it's a little different because your schedule's kind of changing every week. I feel like the college schedule is a little more predictable as you're, like you said, playing Friday, Saturday, and you can kind of plan your practice schedule weeks in advance. And at times, I feel like the junior skates are a little different because maybe you're playing a Wednesday game and gonna have a little lighter skate on the Monday, Tuesday. But
sure,
no, I feel like the skates here have been really good.
You mentioned that you wanted to play college hockey from a pretty young age. What were you aware of with college hockey? When did that become something you hoped for? I'm sure you probably thought about playing in the NHL too, or professional hockey, as all young hockey players do. But you talk about growing up in the game, when you started playing, and when did college hockey become something that you were kind of pointing to?
Yeah, of course. I mean, growing up, I didn't really think too much of where I wanted to play junior, and
sure,
beyond that, obviously the end goal has always been the NHL. But I'd say it probably wasn't until I was about 13 or 14 years old playing Bantam hockey where I was got to experience my first college game. We had a showcase down at Notre Dame and got to watch a game there, and I just fell in love with the atmosphere and just everything that came along with college hockey. I think being from Canada, it's a little different. I'm always hearing about the hype of the Minnesota high school hockey tournament and stuff like that, and I just thought it'd be really cool to have that experience playing for your school.
So who did you see play on that game that you kind of fell in love with? It was Notre Dame against somebody else?
Minnesota, funny enough.
Oh,
yeah.
really? Okay. Wow, very that was kind of a cool experience.
Yeah, and to have my first college game be against Minnesota was kind of pretty cool how it all lined up.
Right. Oh, yeah. That's pretty good. You didn't win the game, but you guys won the next night. So down in Mankato in front of a great crowd. So that must have been fun to experience that.
Yeah, no, it was a surreal experience. I think playing in that rink was amazing, and then being able to dress for the first home game was super cool experience.
And did you grow up around a lot of other players too? I understand, and grew up with some players who were playing the NHL and kind of that your neck of the woods that you know really well. Did you grow up playing hockey with them?
Yeah, I grew up across the street from Dante Fabro, who he played college hockey at BU, and obviously having a pretty successful career in Nashville, and then he always grew up playing with Matt Barzell, so I got pretty close with the two of them, and being able to pick their brains when they're back home in the summer and getting to skate with them's pretty cool.
That's a cool experience, and obviously someone who played college hockey and then went on to the NHL, and there were a few games, few pretty good MSU BU games in the last few years that people noted of when they played home and homes back-to-back years. Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah,
so I think just being able to kind of be around them and see the way they carry themselves and what they've done to get to the NHL has been pretty cool to be a part of.
Obviously, Mavericks will try to keep it rolling this weekend as they play a home-and-home series against St. Thomas. You guys will host the Tommies on Friday night in Mankato and then head up to St. Paul, Mendota Heights, rather. It'll be St. Paul in a couple of years when they build their beautiful new rink on there. I'm a St. Thomas grad, so but I covered the Mavericks for 20 years, so it's not like I have loyalty either way, but that's going to be an amazing rink that St. Thomas built. But good for college hockey in general. But for now, you're another team you got to be careful of, right? I mean, I know they were a team that you blew out one night, and then they played you pretty tough another night, and they've given some teams some fits this year as well. So we got to be careful of everybody. Look at the freshman scoring list in the CCHA, which you're on, and there's a few freshman Tommies up ahead of you on that because they're a young team that you got to be careful of. You can't take anybody. You can't overlook anybody, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I think our league's gotten so competitive, and really you got to respect every team you play each night because you got to put your best foot forward if you want to win.
Well, best of luck this weekend against the Tommies. Looking forward to seeing you guys back home, at least for one night. I know there aren't a lot of home games left, and it'll be incentive to go on a deep run in the playoffs, I'm sure. So thanks for joining the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, that's Christian Fitzgerald of the Minnesota State Mavericks. I'm Shane Frederick. This has been the Maverick Hockey Live podcast presented by Dunkin. We'll talk to you next week.